All right, so I wanted to talk really quickly about periodontitis. So this is an oral infection leading to a disease that we know as periodontitis. And so I've included just a few main details in this infographic, and let's walk through those. So the first key to periodontitis is that it sort of progresses from the plaque formation we learn about when we talk about dental caries or cavities. So our mouth forms this biofilm, or bacteria in our mouth form this biofilm that we call plaque. And we should brush our teeth every day to remove that plaque. It protects us from cavities, but it also protects us from periodontitis. And the reason is because plaque that is not removed from the tooth, and it's really easy to remove when it's in this soft plaque form, but when it's not removed and it is allowed to sit there for a prolonged period of time, it becomes mineralized and it adds calcium and phosphate, and it forms this new thing called calculus. So plaque over time left on the tooth becomes calculus. What I remember about calculus is I actually think back to my own college classes, and I remember calculus being hard. Well, that's true about this form of calculus in the mouth as well. So plaque that becomes calculus is a really hardened form of plaque. In fact, it's so hard that you could never ever remove calculus from your tooth with a toothbrush. The only way you can get calculus off a tooth is to visit a dental hygienist and to have them use metal tools to scrape that calculus off the teeth. So calculus is a hardened form of plaque. So that's the first step towards periodontitis, is that our plaque forms this hardened calculus. What happens next? Well, this hardened calculus is not nearly as smooth as the enamel on our teeth. So if that calculus forms on our tooth near the gum line, which is one of the harder places to brush, we floss to try to get that off as well. But this is the spot where plaque maybe has the easiest time adhering, right next to the gum line. When it becomes hardened, I think of it almost as like a little layer of sandpaper on my tooth next to the gums. And what happens is my tooth and my gums shift around a tiny bit, and that calculus actually scrapes my gums. So I get little abrasions on my gums. Well, and that's tissue damage, right? That's like getting a bunch of little cuts on my gums. So my gums become inflamed because we know that's the response to tissue damage every single time that it happens. That inflammation actually takes my gums and pushes it harder against that plaque, which leads to more scrapes and abrasions. So this is sort of a snowballing effect, right? We get the calculus, it damages my gums with little abrasions, they become inflamed, and then this process doesn't stop. And it goes on for so long that we can get, prolonged damage and inflammation. And eventually we can get some tissue loss in the gums. So this prolonged tissue damage and inflammation actually kills some of the gum tissue. Now I don't have gum tissue where I'm supposed to have gum tissue. So the next step is that some microbes invade the gums. Again, I've lost gum tissue. So now there's a little space between my tooth and my gums where my gums should be filling in, but I lost some of that tissue because it was getting damaged for a prolonged period of time. And now there's a little gap where bacteria can sneak in and grow. So my mouth is full of microbes. Some of those microbes would love to penetrate down into these little gaps between my gums and my teeth and grow there. So microbes invade those spaces that were created because of the gum damage. They now grow in that space. They shouldn't be growing there. They release exoenzymes and exotoxins that further damage the gum tissue, and we just keep losing gum tissue. So we get continued tissue damage, leading to gum loss and potential damage to the underlying bone beneath my teeth and my gums. And that's the worst case scenario, is if this damage progresses that far, the bone gets damaged, and that can lead to tooth loss and things like that. And it all starts with that plaque on our teeth becoming hardened, forming calculus, abrading my gums, causing tissue damage. That's prolonged. The gum tissue recedes because I lost it. It's been damaged so much Then bacteria invade the space where the gums were. They continue to grow and damage even more deeper tissues, and that's periodontitis. So I hope you find that helpful.